Mexico on my cruise. So
Yeah, which you're leaving for
Saturday.
oh, so great.
I cannot wait. My brain has not fully engaged out of, holiday vacation mode.
Don't engage back. Just like slide through the week and go to
exactly. I got one more day of work and then I'm free.
oh, heaven.
All right. What did I miss?
Oh, we were just shooting the shit.
Well, wait, but Naomi, you were like, let's talk about the vision for the new year, the next year. What our visions
Liz
are.
was just saying, what should we talk about? And I said, in the spirit of being the new year, we should probably talk about like, what is our vision for this year, for our films and this.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I did a vision deck for 2023. Which
is amazing. So
I was I've never actually done a vision board before, but I saw this thing where they were doing it on index cards. So I was like, ooh, I like this idea better because I can look at it every morning and as like a daily reminder to myself to stay on track. Did this turn into an entire arts and crafts project? Yes, it
did. Did we know, Alicia? Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, where's the vision diorama that you created?
I love my index cards. Christina suggested I call it a vision deck instead of vision board index cards, which just was explaining it. I was like, vision deck. Yeah, it's way simpler. Let's go with that. So I did add a project part to it. And I have, of course, the newsletter. And I have I changed the short film that I'm going to do? Yes, I have. I've been struggling so much with the other, with fixing up the other script. And I just can't get it to say all the things I wanted to say. So I switched to one that was actually written before, and it's a lighter subject matter than like, Black women strife in America. Like, this is just two women being hot and kissing because that's fun. So I switched it to that one. And that script is like ready to go now. So that's what's good about that one. Did I change the feature that I was working on? Yes.
Wow.
Lots of changes for 2023, y'all. Lots of changes because I came up with this idea that I'm not going to share on the live just yet, but it is so simple. It requires such a small cast and only one location. And also I'm not going to write it. I made that clear up front when I was discussing it. I was like, so I'm not going to be writing this. I just want to be just be clear because I want it to actually get made. And if we have to wait on me to write it, we'll be waiting forever to get to that space. But I'm absolutely in love with this idea and I can't wait to share it with you guys.
Yay. Do you know who's writing it? Like
right now, most likely Christina, which is who I was discussing it with. Like, I just want to be clear that I won't be writing it. She's trying to convince me to make it a short.
Okay.
And I don't want to make it a short because the premise is so simple. It's like, if we're going to get all this together to be there, it makes no sense not to just shoot the feature. Like, if we're gonna go through the
I feel all the time.
Get a location, like, if we have a location for a weekend, we can have it for more than that, just to shoot the whole thing and be done with it. So,
yeah. Honestly, though, actually, that's a lie. I shouldn't say that. Never mind. I was gonna be like, it's always just as much work, but that's not really true all the time. line producing a feature now, and I'm like, oh, now I actually having to think of it from the literal opposite side of like only financing is a very different experience. So I'm gonna rescind it's all the same. If you show up for 2 days, you show up for 15.
I
But
don't think it's
in a
the
way, yeah.
same, but I do think that in most cases, pulling together a short is like 60% of pulling together a feature.
Yeah, it's so much more. Yeah, totally. That part is very true.
Hi.
But I used to be like, it's the same thing. And now I'm like, oh, damn it. Now I need to be this person. I'm going to switch to my computer, by the way. So I will be right back.
So, and in this idea of our vision for the new year, Alicia, is that, I guess I'm trying to figure out how to answer the question myself, but is it like just stating what our priorities are? Because I feel like we're getting a sense of yours, or is there a larger question we're asking right now in terms of the vision prompt, Naomi?
I think maybe let's all go around and do what Alicia just did, and then see if there's like a bigger group discussion of timeline or launch points or.
Oh, I forgot one.
Okay.
The podcast that has been on deck for a while, but I legitimately just keep forgetting about it. I don't know why. It's not like a sign that I don't like it. It's just there's so many other things. But with the purpose of, in particular, filling out my YouTube channel, I need this content in particular. It's so simple, I just have to record me talking to someone. I only require a guest. It's called Dramatic Gasp, and it's only about these moments in queer pop culture that basically live in your head rent free, and talking to people about what is that moment for you, and digging into what is it about that moment that why do you keep going back to it, and just simple conversation about that, and throwing it up there on YouTube, but also having it just in a regular podcast form.
I love that. I just like that concept a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I'm done.
I can go next. So I figured out what I'm offering for my Patreon, like what the perks are, and I'm really pumped about them. I'm going to put up the page. I'm going to make the page live next week, because why not? But I'm going to announce it and push content starting February 15th. So like the perks will start February 15th. And they're sub to do's with night, but that's what's happening.
February 15th is the anniversary of my first period. I celebrate February 15th as my uterus's maturation. Yeah, I know, it was a very big day for me.
Wow. Okay, well, great. That feels like good vibes.
Yeah, it's a really good holiday for me. So good for you. Yeah.
Do you do something for the holiday? Or you just
I talk about it on social media to make people uncomfortable. Yeah, like a lot.
This.
That's the best way to celebrate any holiday.
I hate Valentine's Day, but I love February 15th. So that's how I
Should start having a period party.
yeah, I should be doing that. Sorry, you're up to.
Okay. Useful tangent. Christian and I are going to finish our big rewrite of the script next week, and then send it to producers. And we are shooting this movie in December. That's what's happening. Or November. We'll see how it goes. And we're going to do a workshop, I'm going to go to New York so we can do an in-person workshop of it in March. And I just feel so good about where the script is. Like, it took such a huge leap forward in this rewrite. It's been incredibly painstaking because we're literally live on Zoom going line by, like, arguing commas and stage directions, like the whole thing. But I feel really, really excited about it.
Hey.
All right,
Okay,
who's next?
Courtney.
Well, quick question, why November, December?
Because I am making a film this year, and it takes place in winter, and I think it'll probably take. That just feels like a doable amount of time to get it together, and there has to be snow on the ground.
In Idaho, right?
Yeah, well, the exteriors, we probably need to shoot the exteriors in Idaho, which is actually a tiny portion of the film. The inside of the power plant we could shoot. I mean, we could build that set in any industrial building or soundstage or whatever. There's some possibility we can shoot in the actual nuclear power plant, because we found this wackadoodle music video that was shot there that is insane and so worth 3 minutes and 28 seconds time if you're interested. But that made us feel like, oh, maybe they would let us shoot there because they let these people.
Yeah.
But
Would you try to shoot, if you did end up shooting on a stage, would you want to shoot somewhere with the tax credit? Or would you want to keep it in Idaho still?
no, I mean, if we're shooting it on a soundstage, Idaho probably doesn't make sense because
Right.
there's not a ton of crew here or anything. I don't know that the budget's going to be big enough for a tax credit to be
Okay.
meaningful, but
Okay. Just curious.
yeah.
Okay.
Also on the tax credit thing,
Mhm.
finally got our Bite Me tax credit check.
Oh my
back.
God.
We were on set in that movie in 2017,
Wait, from which state?
New York.
Oh,
Uh,
I've heard it's horrible. I've heard like the worst things about getting your money back from the state.
5 years.
Yeah. That's nuts though. 5 years is crazy.
I mean, there was a pandemic in there, and I do believe them that slowed it down a bit, but that is a long
Yeah,
time.
but like there were 3 years before the pandemic. What do you mean? They're like, oh, it would have been 3.5. Like, don't try the pandemic, really.
Right.
wow.
Wow. Does that mean, because I just worked on something that was like really dependent on that credit, and we shot this last summer. So I wonder if that means it's backed up to that point that it's going to take like 5 to 7 years for them to get there.
Possible.
They'll be doing post in 7 years. Okay, cool. That's crazy. Okay, don't do tax credits. New Mexico's fast, I know that, but otherwise, not New
I
York.
mean, maybe it might just be New York. I don't know.
Mm. Cool.
I'm done.
Courtney,
Okay. So I should really figure out a timeline. I do want to shoot Baby Moon this year. I've been trying to figure out whether it makes more sense to set it somewhere like Hawaii, although now I'm like, maybe tax credit. That's why I've been like looking at different state tax credits and like talking to people and like trying to compare and be like, where it makes sense. But it seems, yeah, so we'll see. But I was like, maybe that makes more sense, or maybe still shooting somewhere abroad that would be cheaper when you're like spending like where labor is cheaper and like cater it, like all the day-to-day stuff. But I need to do another draft of the script. I got your notes, and then I got notes from 2 producers who had very insightful notes, and like everything's kind of been the same. Like everyone was like, yeah, around like page 50. It's like, okay. And I think I saw I think I figured out how to solve that. So my goal is to finish that draft this month, so that I can start like getting that going. But yeah, I want to shoot that. I need to finish the thing that I shot in Barcelona and figure out what it is, or I need to edit it. Editing, I don't know if I'm looking forward to that process, but I guess I'll find out. So yeah, I feel like just finishing a lot of things this year, and figuring out. I'm like line producing and UPMing a feature, which will be cool. And they're based on casting, we're shooting in March or April. So I think that'll also help determine like when I could realistically go shoot my movie or aim to shoot my film to like find a like bring a producer on and everything. It is really interesting to be on the like UPM line producing side of a feature that I've like nothing to do. Like I was brought on by the lead producer because we've worked together before and she's super lovely and we work really well together because I have like more of a crew background and she doesn't come from that. So we're very like it's a good complementary kind of team. So I'm curious how that will go and if that's better than it's probably better than ADing. But like how producing on the narrative side, what that's like. So I guess depending on how that goes, that would probably determine some of the year too, if like I want to keep doing that and like be more on like producing features than ADing things. But I don't know. It's like weirdly kind of open. I feel like I have like 6 different things that are like maybe it's February, maybe it's March, maybe it's April. And like until all of that kind of like settles and I find out when everything's happening, I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of waiting. Yeah, so I'm like waiting on a lot of people and things. And also for my feature, I like didn't for my first feature, didn't think about music licensing. I forgot that we had Temp Track in there and was like, yeah, we have a composer. And I was like, oh yeah, we also have like all these diegetic songs that I have to replace. I think I complained about this last time and I'm still dealing with it. So because musicians are so slow to respond to things. So trying to like, and I thought I would be done with that by now, but they're like, where's the rest of the music? So yes, wrapping that up too. And I feel like how that does will kind of affect like this other film as well, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, maybe unfortunately. So I don't know. 2023, we'll just see what happens, but I definitely want to make another feature this year. And I know I'm going to make another feature this year and we'll just see when it is. And that's it. Although listening to all you, I'm like, I should really get some like co-writers up in here. That would make my life easier. And yeah, more other producer friends. Yeah. Co-writing though, or writers. This is the trick. This is everyone's secret. So I'm gonna work on that this year too. More creative friends.
Cool. I don't have a vision at all. Just want to acknowledge that. I've been in bed for the past 2 weeks. I've not really thought about things that I should be thinking about. I've just been like, oh, National Treasure is horrible. That's what I've been thinking about. The movies are great, but the show is horrible, guys. It's real bad TV show. I think I'm in an awkward position where I could go out with a script. I could start fundraising. I could really start to make this happen, and I'm not for some reason. And I think I'm just like for all of us, there's so many things happening that I'm having trouble pushing and isolating the one thing that's most important right now. So I think in terms of like the goal is to figure out the next step. I don't know what my next step is right now.
Do you have like a month that you have in your head to shoot it?
I need to shoot it before August.
Okay.
And that's scary on January 4th. That feels really, I mean, it's doable, but it just feels scary.
It's brisk.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking like May or June is what I was hoping for. And I could probably get it together. My producers are lovely, but we're still in that brainstorming meeting weekly thing. We're not in the like boots on the ground, we're making this movie thing. I think the deck is bottlenecking a lot of things because I don't have a deck to give them. And I think if they had a deck, they could like approach investors, and then I could continue doing things like creative things to improve my process while and I seek out more money. Like I'm aware like that I should be doing way more than I am right now. I think I'm
You
just
know,
a little
has-
overwhelmed.
Has just been the holidays for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that's like, oh, free time to do the
For
stuff.
rest, so that then you can do stuff the rest of the year.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
that's the right perspective. That's
And
the
maybe
healthy
that's why your body
perspective.
was like, Liz, you are sitting in bed and watching National Treasure.
Yeah,
Probably.
honestly, this holiday, like, well, I guess last year I made everyone start cheating January 1st. So last year was a gap, but I feel like usually there's like this year felt especially like no one was doing, like there were definitely 2 weeks where it was like, no.
Yeah.
I know.
We're done for now, which was interesting. But then I feel like people are starting to shoot a lot earlier. So I was like, oh, everyone really just like powered down and now we're like back at it. So it's been interesting that it's not like a slow down, like drag out thing. It was like, we're off. Okay, like let's go. We're shooting Saturday. You're like, oh, what?
I think everyone powered down, rested, and then we're
Yeah.
like, yay!
Yeah. It feels different though this year.
Yeah.
I think it's finding that within is where I haven't hit that yet. Today was my first day back in office. And so like, I think the wheels, this meeting just came at a time where I hadn't quite turned things on yet. And so the goal is I actually really love the idea of like looking up, I've never done a vision board in my life. I'm like, well, what if I try to see if I could be fun and whimsical as a human and like attempt to do this thing that people do. And that might help germinate the excitement that will propel everything.
Liz, Charlene, my friend Charlene and I are doing a like Design Year 2023 free workshop on Saturday morning.
It's amazing.
You should
So,
come.
so
What
that's
time
going on my list. It's like, go do the workshop.
Yeah.
What time is it? Was Saturday?
Stand by. It's LA time. It's 9 to 10:15 in the morning.
That could work.
I will
Thank
be
you.
on set, but they'll be loading in. So maybe I'll just like listen out in one ear. I like to do this like walkie in one ear, ear pod in another. So I can like kind of do my own thing, but also hear what's going on. A little hack that I learned. So maybe I'll do that and I'll like listen in and be like, yeah, everything looks great. We're on time. Like, because it's like a 4-hour load in. So I just furniture for the first like 4 hours of the day.
That's great that you're doing that, Amy. And I'm going to try to attend. I'm going to put it on my calendar.
Only if it would be useful.
I think it would be useful. And I have to kind of like open my mind to the idea of dreaming and
It is this. It'll be a little out of your comfort zone.
well,
so
I know that's why I gotta come around one of these days, right? So maybe Saturday is the day. Maybe that's it.
New year, new you.
She's like, now I have to go throw up.
Maybe. That has nothing to do with manifesting. It's just has to do with acid.
Maybe you'll do it and be like, actually, no, not new me. Like, this is not for me at all. But then you'll know.
Yeah, and then I'll know.
Fair.
So that's a plan. We're just briefly, we're starting to record our producers meetings for the Patreon this week, and we're actively working with an AD to figure out different ways to schedule this that are atypical and not outside of a one lump, 20-day, 40-day thing. So next week I'll probably have more intel, at least for my project, in terms of how we're going to arrange it in the calendar.
Sorry, are you finished, Liz? With
Yeah, I'm so done.
So I am hearing of moving to the Story Made 2023 vision. I am hearing a version of things in which we actually all make our movies this year and could distribute them together next year.
I was gonna say the same. And like, I'm wondering if there are ways to kind of, I don't know, overlap things or what, I don't know. I think we're all shooting in different places, except for maybe Liz and Alicia. I don't, are you planning, is yours LA?
Mine's LA.
Mine will not, most likely will not be in LA.
Okay.
It might not even be in the United States, honestly, but to be determined.
Cool. So they're all in different places, but maybe they're still, I mean, I think if we're shooting all on different schedules too, like, is there a world where we're like, what are all of our skill set or things that we usually do on projects? And is there a way to overlap or share or like, fill it, I don't know.
Well, and if we all do 1 year, the production insurance plan at the very least becomes.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So things to figure out. So I guess it's also like what all the different kind of projects need at what stages and what everyone's kind of looking for. I feel like Liz, you're the most like crewed up in a sense for you're sort of starting with your team to craft it together in that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, something to kind of, I don't know, homework.
Yeah. Well, I do think I would like to attempt a group fundraising
Yeah.
something at some point this year.
I would love that. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get the deck done, I promise, in advance of whatever we're doing. But to have like kind of something to look to
Mhm.
is helpful for me.
This is not to make you feel bad, but only because it made me think about it and I'm excited. Our director did make a deck and it's so cool. And I want to show it to you.
Well, you should show it. Maybe it'll help me make my deck.
Okay.
Hate decks.
Make a
It's the
deck.
worst.
I love making decks
I
too.
know you
That's
do.
like, and I'm like, we can just shoot off of that. And everyone's like, no, you can't do that. You have to write a script. I'm like, oh, damn it. Why?
You don't really have to.
I
You don't
know.
have- you could actually shoot off the deck. You really could.
Yeah. Probably. Well, maybe on. Well, I did that actually in Barcelona, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I never wrote a script. We just shot off the deck for that. To be well, we'll see. I haven't edited it yet, so we'll see if that was a successful experiment. But in Baby Man, they just talk for so long. And then I saw After Sun and was like, oh, maybe the trick is to just have no one ever speak in a movie. Okay. Maybe I'm doing it backwards.
See that one. Is it
Oh.
streaming anywhere?
Yeah, it's I think I rented it on Amazon Prime or bought it or whatever, but yeah.
I keep hearing such good things about that.
Yeah. It is beautiful, but yeah, like no one talks. And I was like, I did it wrong. I'm doing it all. That's up in my movies.
Production insurance does it, and I'm trying because I piggybacked on my short and don't remember the cost for my features. What kind of costs are? Does anyone remember how much it costs for a feature?
Depends on.
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it depends on so many factors. I think too with things abroad, it's a little
Stunts and
different, and if there's stunts or.
Well, but part of the problem is that you can't just get it for a movie. Like you have to buy it for a year or whatever, unless you're renting it from somebody else. That's why it's so expensive.
maybe I've always piggybacked. I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to find, I have, I can tell you exactly how much it cost. This might take me a minute. Please carry on.
I'll just watch you.
Watch me look through folders on my desktop.
Because it's
I like
lighting and camera equipment, right? I mean, trying to think of major costs. Like we can't share on talent. I like the cost of talent. We can't share. If I mean, it sounds like actually Courtney and Alicia might be able to shoot in the same location.
Wherever I'm thinking.
And I'll be on vacation there, so that will work.
Right. There you go. So there's some sort of consolidation of costs right there.
There you go. Well, if you work on the movie, it's kind of like a paid vacation. I don't know. I'm trying to find the one for my feature too, what our insurance was.
Because I mean, if it's 10,000, I mean, there's a law of diminishing returns here, right? Like where if it's like we buy a year-long policy versus piggybacking, we might save money piggybacking off of someone's policy
That's true.
versus.
I don't think
buying
you
a policy.
legally can do that. I think people do that for shorts and stuff, but it's not legally.
Well, if it's a co-production, if you're,
Oh yeah.
that's what I'm
co-production.
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I think that's what we had to do for Bite Me is
Yeah.
like we had to put the company as a co-producer on our film.
So it could be finding a company.
Yeah.
And then like they are the vendor for us rather than us buying the policy.
Okay, I found for my film that I shot in Paris, which also I think was a little different because I don't think ours was a full year. We did like a short-term one, even though it was a feature. I don't know how but I think because it was abroad, but ours was $4,572.
It wasn't a massive.
It wasn't crazy, but it wasn't for the year. So technically our post and whatever wasn't insured.
I'm more concerned about, because of our atypical production schedule, I'm more concerned about lighting and camera equipment, but then it's like, well, then it's negotiating with individual vendors rather than a camera house. I mean, we've had the conversation before, but it's like, what are the massive expenses that we're going to benefit from sharing? Or maybe it's just aggregating all these tiny expenses and I'm not seeing the forest from the trees.
Yeah, I would be curious what a year would cost.
Yeah.
But
I think it's probably going to be a matter of like as we each get clear on what the budgets for our individual films are and then looking.
Does everyone have a budget for their project?
I am.
I mean,
I made one because I was like, I could work on the script or I could just make a budget, which like I know how to do that. It doesn't involve a lot of creative thinking. So I made a budget.
What's your budget?
I made a budget for 400,000.
that's what ours is.
Yeah, I think you could probably do it for less, but it's probably that. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, the numbers. It is interesting to like play with numbers and so forth. Like the one I'm on to, just how like changing one factor, like the ripple effects, or like when you have to hit a number, like where to cut things, and then different people's ideas of where to cut things, like again, coming from like crew versus like production and like cast being super important side of things is like a very different, like what people actually need to make a movie versus need to sell a movie, or the idea of what you need to sell a movie is very interesting. That was like a crazy exercise. Because we submitted 3 different budgets being like, if we have this, because the investors care a lot about cast. So we're like, well, if you want to pay for this kind of cast, like you need this. And then here's the extra crew you also need for that support so that they aren't like pissed on set the whole time because of what they're used to. And then here's this budget for like the low number that you wanted to hit by some kind of magic. And then, so yeah, it is fascinating. It's like its own art form to make budgets for features.
So Liz,
Mm.
given that our research shows that nobody makes $400,000 back on a movie, how are you thinking about that?
I mean, well, the same way I've been thinking about it from the very beginning, it hasn't changed. It's like with the reduction. Well, first of all, we're being pitched to Tubi right now. I doubt Tubi's going to say yes, but there's a world where if Tubi wants to front the whole budget for this film, then I'm exploiting and license it in some way, then I'm exploiting all of their rights. then I'm in a really good position, right? But I don't. Tubi's gonna say yes. And I still just keep thinking back on if there's no sales agent and if there's no platform fees and if we're doing live events and if I'm overseeing distribution, like it just feels like we're getting closer and closer. There's no like magic to it.
No, but you're relying on a new distribution model with
Yeah.
in the hopes that
Yeah.
you could hit a different number.
Yeah, I think also, I mean, that cast line that we have in the article is really interesting to me. It's like, because both my features have, I mean, they both were paid scale, so I'm an exception, but they didn't promote, they didn't market the film, and therefore we didn't really benefit, other than maybe in festivals, from their presence in the film, other than I got to work with them and they're amazing. So this is all to say that like, maybe it's working with an improv troupe in Los Angeles that I really want to rehearse with for 3 months, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you about that. And I like of the cast in Bite Me, the person that we benefited from the most was Naomi Grossman in the cast.
Mm.
And it was because she social media'd the shit out of the
Yeah.
film. Like every place we went on tour, like 5 people came up to us and were like, we saw Naomi Grossman's. And it's like, and she wasn't the most famous, but it's like, she was the one who was promoting it.
And she has, like, as you mentioned before, like she is the most she's an incredibly passionate niche audience, where like, you know, Tom Putnam, you know, Naomi, you know him, but like, you know, he had a film with David Cross, Cameron Esposito, and Deborah Messing. And it's like, those are 3 people who like galvanize a group, but you wouldn't necessarily automatically think that they would, right?
Sure.
So it's finding those niche talent. I want to find them in the comedy world. And I'm going to start doing like UCB things to get to know. I mean, that's part of my plan. I guess I didn't think it was interesting enough, but like, I'm going to start tracking live performances in Los Angeles for comedy and pulling from those people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, do I have someone who needs to know?
Oh,
My friend Allison, who is like in the improv comedy world, is fantastic.
what's
And
her full name?
Lovely human. Allison, if you're watching, I'm having a hang on one second. Allison Price. She's wonderful.
Is she, do you know if she's like rounding to UCB or anything, or should I like to find her? I'll just look for her.
I think she
Second
might
City.
be Second City in Chicago, but she moved to LA.
Oh, cool.
Sorry. I have a question off your article.
She's Canadian.
She's
Yeah.
Canadian. Yeah, I met her because she was in the Miranda July short that I adapted for the New Yorker Presents.
Oh,
She's just like one of my favorite human beings. I think you would love her. She's in LA. She's in the comedy scene. Like, you have to meet her.
I would love to. I'd love to.
Can I
Thank
introduce you?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm going to start looking at her stuff. Thank you. Yeah, anyone in the women in comedy in LA is very exciting to me. And your vouch means a lot. So, Courtney, you said you had a question about the article.
Yeah, what's a realistic number? What are you supposed to make a movie for it to be like, we can
Oh, no one's making money.
$20,000?
No.
Well, I mean, basically, it's like, here I can. It either has to be incredibly cheap, like under $100,000, or over $1 million, over 1.5.
Okay. Cool.
But also that's within the incredibly shitty and bad distribution system that we have, right? So
Right.
But I will say that, again, within the realm of the current distribution system, $400,000 is specifically a number that that nobody makes back.
Yeah,
It's like in the donut hole.
that weird gray
Yeah,
area.
I mean, that makes sense, although there is the like not math way to, just because I've worked on so many films as an ED in that range from the like 250,000 to just shy of $1 million. And so often those films are not designed for that budget, and you can tell. And I think that's a big part of it as well. So I'm like, here, I mean, there's no way to actually test that, but I am curious what the like trying to make something ambitious with no money so it doesn't look as good versus trying to do something that like fits within what you're, I don't know.
That's possible. I don't think that's the problem,
Okay.
because I think it's just like it's a system of winners right now. So like either you have to be big enough that you're like in the golden elevator, like you sell it for a huge number up front to a streamer, or you are scrapping around for dregs of money. And if you are in the scrapping around, like that just doesn't add up to $400,000. It just doesn't.
So not, yeah, then how do you?
Well, you invent a new distribution.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Or make streamer friends, or both, or all.
I do think it's going to involve unpaid labor. I like can't work my way around that in philosophizing everything that we're talking about. It's like I keep thinking it's the DP who's willing to do prep with you for weeks in advance of the shoot. Well, they're not being paid. Like that's unpaid labor. Like as a director, all my prep time is not being paid right now. That's unpaid labor. And we kind of, when we started dreaming this up, we kept thinking like people are going to be held accountable. We're going to be compensating people properly. And I think I'm not giving us a hard time. I'm just acknowledging like it's a real difficult quandary to solve, to account for creative labor while creating this model.
I think possibly it's about fewer people.
Yeah.
In the project, so that the people who are there are paid adequately. Yeah. And because you have longer prep time, you figure out a way to need fewer people.
But then it's hybrid roles, right? Like I was talking to someone else about this. It's like the DP who doesn't mind touching a light, like, you know, but then also you're skirting this line of like, these people need to volunteer what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. Like we can't come in from a position of power and say like, and can you also do lights, and can you also do this? It's fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm repeating myself because we had this whole conversation a few weeks ago about curating the perfect crew, and that's I have my own concerns about that right now. And everyone I've been talking to is saying go smaller.
Well, having done, sorry.
I was just going to say quickly, when we did that film Suffer that I acted in, the medieval one, they had a principle which was volunteers, not recruits. Like yes, anybody that you have to talk into this is going to be the wrong person. You need people who like hear like, let's move into the wilderness and make a medieval film and they're like, hell yes. Like you have to be the people who are excited about the thing and not people who are like, oh God, okay, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's because I did make this budget and was like, oh Jesus. Just like the money goes real quick. Even, I mean, I can share the thing I put together, but it was like, okay, like these people can be on like flat, whatever, which like kind of, you know, in theory, right? Like in theory, compensates for all of the kind of prep and thinking about it and everything. But yeah, it is hard even paring down. And my script, you know, is like very small. it is tricky. I mean, even with this other, yeah, I guess I spent a lot of time doing budgets in December, but I was just like, damn, the money really goes and to like pay people properly, but then also for the time, like, because that was some of the different versions for this other thing I had to budget. I was like, here's what 15 days looks like. Here's what 18 days looks like. Here's what this 18 days with this different tier of cast, whatever. But yeah, you're just like, oh my God, you change one thing and then you're like, oh, we're over again. And that's a higher budget project too. So that's why I did my other, like the one for Baby Moon, just to be like, oh, what would this look like? And I'm like, now how do I get this to 200? Because the only way I did, like, how do you cut it in half, I guess, without being like, well, we'll shoot for, because that's a 15-day shoot too, the one I budgeted, which is doable for what it is, but it's quick. Yeah, it's really tricky.
In case this is helpful, I found the document I was looking for, and it's I just put it in the chat. It's a comparative budget between my first film, Imagine I'm Beautiful, which was $60,000, and Bite Me, which was $500,000. Just to see where the differences are.
I would also say that I don't know that you can do that in LA either. Like there are some places where it's also in terms of people like being like, yeah, like I'm down to do this, or just like,
You can.
yeah, maybe.
I mean, but it's,
Maybe I'm pessimistic because I like am a hiring producer. So it's like every time I call someone in LA, I'm like, hey, this person give me your info, but they're like, what's the rate? I'm like, oh, hello, like hi, good, yeah, hi. Like nowhere else. Like everyone in LA is like, what's the rate? I'm like, okay, nice to meet you too. So maybe I'm just like more pessimistic because I'm in that role, like in my day job.
well, yeah, of course. I mean, like if I talk to a producer, I'm going to give them my highest rate, but I
Yeah.
just like you could get people when you go to Barcelona, those same people would do it in LA.
2 people.
I
I mean, it is possible. I mean, that's like my first one. I did that, and it was like, the flat communist style, whatever. But I'm like, okay, could I do it again? Could I do it with the same people again? That's the other thing where I'm like, if I want to work with the
Right.
same people,
Right.
how do I bring them onto another project? Would be like, it'll be better this time. Like
Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
that like it's a struggle last time in these ways. How do I give you another? Like my production designer was the only person on the art team, so I'm like, how do I give you like a set decorator or like even an art or someone else? Like now I have to pay for that too. So it's just like it's tricky.
I saw this video of I think it's Ben Safdie doing Boom operating on his film. I guess he does Boom, and he's like the sound guy for all his movies that he co-directs with his brother. And I'm like, that's the model.
Yeah.
It's like, I just got to learn how to do sounds, right? It's one less crew person. You're up there and you're like, and you're also convincing everyone, well, it's like, I'm doing double duty.
Mhm.
Like we can all do this together. I said it facetiously, but I kind of think it may be the model is like either operating or doing sound as directing.
Operating, yes. I think if you're the only director doing sound, is probably
You
you should
gotta
probably
pull-
see what you're shooting.
You can watch playback. No, you're right. You're right.
See, this is co-creators, you got another person.
Yes, if I can add, yes to less people. This is what my spirit is telling me as listening to everyone talk. Yes to less people, but there's a line where you find yourself in the position of creating the exact type of environment we're trying to get away from in the first place, which is being overworked and overburdened for still no pay, or very little pay, and asking people to do the same thing, which is to work all of these extra parts for very little to no pay. And we're taking a chance. We don't know if we're going to get it back and all that. So I feel like we have to allow ourselves some grace, and just as a reminder, like we don't have to have it all figured out right now. And particularly for this first project, like it's okay if everything is not exactly the ideal in your mind of, well, we're only going to work this amount of days and everybody's going to get paid this amount. And I can guarantee you that we're going to get this amount back. It's a process. So maybe we can, for each of our projects, like figure out what is that one thing
Mm,
that is most important to us that we can do differently for this project, and focus on making sure that that one thing is honored, and see how that goes, and then continue with project after project.
I think that's really wise, Alicia. And it reminds me too of what Ted Hope said to us of like, the first ones of these may not break through. Like it's
Yeah.
going to be the second and the third and the,
Mhm.
it's 1 after the hour and we're usually really good. We just briefly clarify when we are meeting next.
Oh, yeah.
I'm available next, not this Sunday, but the one after that. I'll be back for that one.
The 15th.
Okay.
Yes, the 15th. I'll be available for the 15th.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, unless I get like left on an island or it's stuck at, I don't know.
Just decide to move to Mexico.
Or just decide, yeah. I mean, even if I decide to move to Mexico, I can hop on a Zoom from there.
I guess they do have the internet.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm committing to this vacation life. I'm
Yeah. Like, guess what, guys? I'm retired.
Oh, sounds nice. I
Okay.
support you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Have a
All
great
right.
vacation, Alicia.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
that's
Bye.
fine.
Bye.
Bye all.